Welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, the podcast that helps aircraft owners and aviation businesses learn and understand the complex world of aviation insurance and risk management. From the basic principles of aviation insurance to risk management techniques and updates on the aviation insurance market, the Aviation Insurance Podcast is your guide to traverse the world of aviation insurance. Now, here's your host, Tim Bonnell.
Well, welcome back to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, a podcast where we talk about some of the fundamentals of aviation insurance, and want to talk today about an issue that arises when using independent contractor pilots. All right, so issues or considerations. So oftentimes pilots are contracted to fly an aircraft for a company or for someone, or they're a CFI hired to fly with someone. And so when this happens, there are a number of things that we want to make sure are addressed to ensure that everyone involved has insurance coverage, at least to the best of our efforts. So number one, we want to make sure that when an independent contractor pilot is operating the aircraft, that the aircraft owner or operator is covered. So to do that, we need to make sure that the pilot either meets the pilot requirements of the open pilot warranty, or that their information has been submitted and approved by the insurance underwriter, making them a named pilot to the policy. You can be a named pilot by being approved specifically by the insurance company, or if you're an infrequent user and you meet or exceed the requirements laid out in the insurance policy's open pilot warranty, if there is one, that helps make sure the aircraft owner is covered while that pilot is operating the aircraft. Second, oftentimes most states require that businesses either carry workers' compensation coverage for the contractors they hire, or that they verify that independent contractor has workers' compensation insurance. So that's a consideration a lot of people don't think about when hiring an independent contractor pilot. Do they have workers' compensation coverage? If not, we probably are going to have to report their pay to our work comp carrier in order to make sure we don't have a work comp issue or a surprise audit paying additional premium for all the money we paid the independent contractor pilot. So that's two different exposures. One's the work comp challenges. One's making sure that the aircraft owner is covered or that their policy terms and conditions aren't violated by the pilot not meeting the pilot requirements or being a named pilot. So that helps make sure the aircraft owner's policy is still in effect. All the other terms and conditions of the policy still apply, but we want to make sure that independent contractor pilot meets or exceeds the requirements and or is named. And that's a CFI as well. That's just best practice. Again, there's always ifs, ands, or buts in anything in aviation insurance, but we want to talk about the best fundamental thought processes and policies, mental policies. So most aviation insurance policies, I don't want to say it, many aviation insurance policies have what is called an aviation professional exclusion. So the definition of an insured on many aircraft policy will say you and your, which represents the named insured and anybody who's operating it, anyone sitting in the aircraft, passenger, and it goes on you're using it with the permission of the named insured. And so many people who are using the aircraft, riding in it, so on and so forth, are included as insureds. So the coverage is extended to them from a third-party basis if they're using that aircraft within the terms of the policy, terms and conditions of the policy, and with the approval of the named insured. So a lot of times that's pilots. However, it will go on to say that anyone who is an aviation professional, so they're in the business of aviation, they get paid for flying the aircraft, for maintenance, so on and so forth, are not included in coverage if they're acting in the scope of their profession. All right. So if a contractor pilot is hired, a commercial pilot, to fly the aircraft, that is them, an aviation professional operating in the course of their employment. If it's a contractor pilot flying his buddy's aircraft for fun, that's different. That's not the course of their employment. So many policies will have an aviation professional exclusion, meaning that we can make sure the aircraft owners are covered, but the independent contractor pilot does not have coverage. So there's, obviously an opportunity. We just talked about non-known aircraft hull and liability coverage, and certainly some contractor pilots will purchase that. However, especially when you're flying high-value turbine aircraft, that becomes extremely cost prohibitive for the contractor pilot. It would cost often as much or more as insuring the actual aircraft itself. And so there's a few things that are often done to help make sure that the independent contractor pilot is insured when flying for other people, flying other people's aircraft in the capacity as an aviation professional. And then first, again, we want to make sure the owner's covered by making sure that independent contractor is an approved pilot. Second, and most important, we want to make sure they're an additional insured as respects to liability. So they're not the named insured, they're an additional insured, which extends the liability coverage to them. In some cases, that will prevent an insurance company from coming back against them should the aircraft be damaged. However, the best practice then is to become an additional insured for liability and then request a physical damage or hull, HULL, waiver of subrogation from the insurance company, saying that if this pilot, while operating the aircraft, is negligent leading to its damage, the insurance company, if they pay the claim for the owner based on the policy, they're not going to come back against that independent contractor pilot to seek damages. So we want to make sure independent contractor pilot meets the open pilot warranty or the pilot requirements. We want to ask that they're an additional insured to the policy. And again, it treats them as an insured, but it does not increase the limit of liability. It dilutes it. And then a best practice to make sure that that all is well is to ask for a physical damage or hull waiver of subrogation. So again, depending on which seat you're sitting in as an independent contractor pilot, a CFI, professional pilot, mentor pilot, whatever that is, or you're the aircraft owner, we've got some things to do. It's done every day, all the time. Independent contractors are a big part of aviation operations, but there are those things to think about and to consider on both sides of that transaction. So keep that in mind when flying as an independent contractor pilot or as an aircraft owner or operator hiring independent contractor pilots. We want to address these issues. And so that's all for this episode. Join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance. Until then, enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share it with someone who would benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any new episodes and to help our show have more impact. This episode is brought to you by Aeris Insurance Solutions, your flight plan for navigating the turbulence of aviation insurance. For more information, visit aerosinsurance.com. That is www.aerisinsurance.com. Disclaimer. These episodes are for educational purposes only, and due to the changing regulatory and legal nature of the business, some information may change over time. Having a well-educated and experienced aviation insurance broker on your team is an absolute requirement to success in business and for managing your aircraft and aviation business risks.